this so that we can figure out what's going on and who are these critical care cases. Next on the lineup would be Claire Vitug, Executive Director of San Sebastian Basilica Conservation and Development Foundation Incorporated. Why? Because apparently, if you're not familiar, the San Sebastian school, church, whatever you want to call that area, okay, features an architectural masterpiece. Yung kanila pong mga spires, kung tawag, yung mga tulis-tulis dun sa San Sebastian. They're not just, roof. They're not just metal. They're architectural history. They're considered classic and significant in terms of architecture and church design and Philippine church history. But it seems that development is slowly crawling around the San Sebastian church or facility, and what's happening is parang ninenervyos na ang mga tao. People, particularly those who appreciate these historical sites and historical pieces, are worried that baka isang araw magmukha na lang silang bansot na napaligiran ng daan-daang mga condominiums. And that's what's happening to us here in Capitolio. I mean, mapakaliwa, mapakanan ka, napapaligiran ka na ngayon ng condominium. Medyo San Sebastian Church or Basilica raw ang tawag sa kanila. Okay, sabi ni Gab. Thank you, Gab. In any case, it brings back to memory the Jose Rizal Monument versus that humongous building, to be fair, what, a kilometer away or half a kilometer away, yung bang photo bomber. Yung pong photo bomber, iba sa encampment of condominiums around the San Sebastian Basilica or San Sebastian Cathedral. Medyo, you don't have to be a Catholic to appreciate it. You don't have to be anything not to appreciate that facility. Napakaganda pong trabaho yun. Marami ang naghirap para gawin yun. And, it's a historical piece, and we will talk to Claire Vitug regarding that problem. Last but not the least, kakausapin po natin si Commissioner Mon Liboro of the National Privacy Commission, because I heard that they had met up with Facebook and they had asked for clarifications yung mga galaw ng Facebook in the Philippines, kung sino yung mga accounts sa kanilang pinagpapatay. Hindi lang pala sa kalsada may patayan. Meron ding patayan sa social media. Pinapatay po yung mga accounts na kahina-hinala. But in any case, we will find out from Mon Liboro, were there new discoveries in their talk, etc. But before all of this, before I read the news, please allow me to just say hello, honor, congratulate, and appreciate lahat po, all those who are, number one, homemakers, housewives, yung mga inyong mga mayordoma. I would just like to encourage all the men, all the sons and daughters out there to please recognize these women in your lives who keep the home together, who look after the house, and not just your mama, not just your nanay, but also even your mayordoma, your maid, because keeping house is not new to me. I've done it when my parents were alive, when I lived alone in America, and now I'm doing it all over again while my wife and daughter live abroad. But, I once wrote an article where I said, if you want to appreciate how big your house is, try cleaning it with a piece of tissue and a toothbrush. Clean every square inch of your house, and you will find out just how big your so-called tiny house is, and then try to get perspective of how hard it is for your mom, even your dad. Kasi meron namang di ba? Meron namang mother-father role din, you will be able to appreciate the people in our lives who keep order in the house. And I just want to do that. Doesn't have to be Mother's Day, Father's Day, Domestic Helpers Day. Let's appreciate them. Kasi alam niyo po, kung wala, kayo gagawa. Eh nako, ako puro na sugat, kalyum, sakit na balakang ko, but I'm appreciating them. In any case, let's go to today's news. The time is 8:07. Here are the stories from the front page of the Philippine Star. A supermajority of 202 members of the House of Representatives manifested support for the continued leadership of House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano. In a joint manifestation, the lawmaker expressed their full and unequivocal support for Cayetano. Back in 2019, Cayetano had a term-sharing agreement with Marinduque Representative and PDP Laban ally Lord Alan Velasco, in which Velasco is supposed to take over the speakership by October this year. Okay, and if you're wondering, ano kaya ang comment ni Kuya Sito dyan? Well, the delay is not never denial, they would say, but in this case, I would say, be careful what you wish for. And at the same time, if you are a godly person, if you believe in the Lord, what are the chances that He might just simply be saving you from major headaches? Because alam niyo po, maraming mga tumakbong mayor, tumakbong vice, konsehal, congressman, friends of mine, and they're all saying, I wish I never did it. Sana hindi na lang ako tumakbo. Sana pinabayaan ko na yung karibal ko, kalaban kong mag-isa. Kasi ngayon lahat ng problema akin na, pati pa yung gastos akin pa, pati palibing akin pa rin. Ayan po, no? So, for all of you who may find yourself in a similar situation, betrayed by 202 or whatever the number, betrayed from a gentleman's agreement, okay lang yan. Who knows, Sometimes the betrayal may bring you glory. Okay, alam naman nyo, Lord pa naman pangalan mo. Okay, President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to announce a new quarantine classification in Metro Manila and other areas this week. The Interagency Task Force, or IATF, is expected to meet today and come up with final recommendations for the President. The existing protocol took effect last September 1 and will lapse at the end of the month or this coming Wednesday. However, there is no certainty on whether the announcements will be made today or the next couple of days according to the palace. Okay, wag po kayong pupusta, wag kayong makikipagpustahan kasi hindi tayo nakakasiguro. There are no guarantees if the situation has improved, will improve. We will find out from Dr. Maricar Limpin what her thoughts are regarding the GCQ to MGCQ suggestions. But in any case, I just want to point out to the IATF, to the people in charge, why do we have to do it on 2 weeks or 30-day schedules? Why is it that we need to make an announcement every 2 weeks or every 30 days? Para bang nagpapaasa pa kayo ng tao eh. I mean, normally, what would happen is we are declaring a state of calamity. And then the next time you hear about those declarations is we are now happy to announce that the state of calamity is over. Period. Wala nang, sa 15, katapusan. Para kang sinesweldo or pinapaasa. In any case, let's move on. The Occidental Mindoro Prosecutor's Office dismissed the charges filed by the Philippine Coast Guard against the Hong Kong flagged MV Vienna Wood. Last June, MV Vienna Wood hit fishing vessel Liberty 5 off the shores of Mamburao, Occidental Mindoro, which left 14 Filipinos missing, and until now, they have yet to be found. According to the Coast Guard spokesperson Arman Balilo, the Vienna Wood was allowed to leave the country last week after the complaints were dismissed. Balilo has yet to obtain a copy of the decision, but he said the parties involved may have reached a settlement. Ala, ay nagkaayusan, naareglo, na magaling yung abogado de arreglado. In any case, that's life in the Philippines. Medyo weird po yung news na yun, ano? Parang nakaalis na yung barko, na-desisyon na raw, pero wala pa silang hawak na desisyon. I'm not, then, the weirdest thing, MB Vienna Wood, pero gawa sa bakal. And socio-civic organization has established 9 e-eskwela hubs or e-learning centers in various parts of the country. This is to complement the Education Department's blended learning. Ang Provinciano Party List Representative Ronnie Ong implemented the project in partnership with Front Row Philippines. He says the hubs are equipped with internet, computers, and printers. Teachers and students who lack gadgets or face internet problems can visit these hubs and use the equipment for their classes. Ong and the group aim to build 16 more of these e-learning centers. Ayan po, no? Inom lang ako, excuse me. So those are the major stories, and then let's now go to the main, hindi ito opening act, medyo main stories din ito. Let's find out regarding those critical cases, just so all of you have background, okay? Kasi napansin ko, yung iba nga sa inyo medyo, ano yun? You're kind of wondering because there's no proper background given to you. On Saturday, the Philippines stopped 300,000 COVID cases, COVID-19 cases, nearly 8 months to the day since the country recorded its first infection in a visiting Chinese woman. Despite the world's longest lockdown, the country has not significantly reduced the number of new COVID-19 cases. The World Health Organization's 22-member Western Pacific region, it is only the Philippines that continues to report cases in thousands daily. Among the Philippines' partners in the ASEAN, Indonesia is the only other country seeing higher numbers of infection. The DOH says comparing countries' success or failures in dealing with the pandemic should account for their varying health systems, resources, and populations. Okay, and at the onset, the DOH was unable to find even half of the 1,195 persons who possibly came in contact with the 3 Chinese tourists from Wuhan, who were the first reported cases in the country. Okay, well, infectious disease expert Ron Jean Solante said the authorities lost the best and earliest opportunity to catch those who had the virus before they turned into severe cases or infected others at the time. Medyo mahaba yata ito. Puntahan na lang natin yung ating guest, Dr. Maricar Limpin. Good morning, Madam.
Good morning, Chito, and good morning to everyone.
Okay, Doctora, could you give us more information regarding what was reported last week, that there is a rising case number of critical cases reaching the hospitals? Parang mas marami raw ngayon critical case ang dumadating sa hospital kesa doon sa asymptomatic and doon sa slightly affected. And then, nakausap ko pa si Governor Dodo Mandanas, and he was saying na ang binabantayan naman nila, those with comorbidities, kasi mukhang mas matindi ang tama. What are your observations, Doctora?
Yeah, Tito, remember, because the past few weeks, no, we have been telling everyone na kung meron silang nararamdaman, o kaya kung wala naman sila, then most likely tapos nag-positive sila, di ba, what we tell them is they have to go on home quarantine or pupunta sila doon sa mga community quarantine facilities. So we really expect, Tito, na marami sa mga natin, Pilipino, kahit na may konting nararamdaman, hindi naman talaga sila pupunta ng ospital, no? So, and that is why, basically, this is also part of good programming na ginawa na ng ating gobyerno, na kung saan nakikita na natin na talagang yung mga pasyenteng may sakit, na yung kailangan talagang ma-admit sa hospital, yun ang talagang pumupunta sa hospital. And that is why mas marami kaming nakikita ngayon na critically ill. Sito, what is important ay yung marami sa mga nakikita namin na critical COVID-19, medyo malaking porsyento din sa kanila ay hindi man lamang nakapagpatingin, no, kahit sa kanilang community doctor o yung kanilang primary care physician. So that is why medyo maabot tuloy doon sa stage na kung saan ay critical na sila.
And what is the result, Dr. Limpin? Because I recently watched yung documentary nung hospital, yung 1,000 bed hospital sa Wuhan, and how they were managing. And medyo ibang klase pala talaga yung situation pag dumating ka na dun sa ICU. Parang babasahan ka na talaga ng last rites habang lahat ng intervention, pati yung mga adrenaline, cardio intervention ginagawa na. Medyo parang sabi ko, ang lala pala nun.
Oh yes, Tito, kapag critical, sila yung mga pasyenteng mangangailangan talaga na mailagay sa isang respirator. And mostly dito nakikita na natin lahat ng mga epekto na ina-expect natin sa COVID-19. So marami din sa kanila nagkakaroon ng epekto sa puso, no? Yung nagkakaroon ng either myocarditis o yung iba talaga ay may cardiomyopathy. Meaning to say, yung function ng puso napaka-mahina ng talaga, no? So nakikita natin yon. And then many of them also may mga iba pang mga nagiging problema katulad ng stroke o kaya yung tinatawag naming pulmonary embolism. So lahat ng ito, Tito, talagang medyo malaki ang resources ng kakailanganin. So lahat ng mga pwede naming ibigay, binibigay na namin. Although of course, marami din pa rin dito ay everything investigational. Kaya lagi pa rin namin sinasabi sa kanila na ito po ay investigational but we will give them sa kanila.
Doktora, siguro with people watching us today, they would all be wondering, at what point do I go to the hospital if I am feeling something different? Kasi doon sa mga nabasa ko, na panood ko, napakinggan ko mga interviews sa research abroad, parang meron ka lang 7-day window eh. And yung ang parang safe ka lang for the first 3 days. After the 3rd day, wala na. Para ka nang nakikipag-wrestling kay kamatayan. Dito sa mga observations in the Philippines, if a person feels something's wrong or may ano ba yung dapat basis for a person to go to the hospital no matter what?
Pag siguro meron na silang na may ubo sila tapos medyo nahihirapan silang huminga, kailangan pumunta na sila sa ospital. Dahil ito yung talagang nakita namin mga sintomas na kadalasan ay hindi naman siya mild lang, Sito. Madalas, siguro minimum stage nila, nasa moderate sila, no? And ang medyo mahirap lang talaga dito, marami sa mga pasyente natin with COVID-19, kahit na dumating sila sa moderate stage, kapag after mga 7 days, nagkakaroon na sila, maaaring magtuloy-tuloy yung paggaling nila, or mag-uumpisa naman naman silang lumala, no? Kaya nga pagka meron na sila talagang pneumonia at medyo nakakaramdam sila ng hirap ng paghinga o yung paghinga na hindi naman talagang hirap na hirap pero medyo hindi maganda, hindi maayos. So I would advise na magpatingin na kagad sila sa kanilang community doctor, no? Yung community doctor will assess, no, kung kakailanganin nila ng admission. But usually kapag may pneumonia, ina-admit na ito, Tito, kasi ito yung mga tao talagang binabantayan namin kasi anytime pwedeng mag-progress or pwede rin namang mag-improve.
Okay, now, so after the 7 days, you either win or you lose. Parang ganun nga, nakita ko rin yan doon sa mga video abroad that people, made that mistake. The first mistake people said was, oh, I thought I was just having a fever or I thought I had the flu. Dito sa Pilipinas, kung medyo pakiramdam mong hinihingal ka, kinakapos ka o parang may trangkaso, wala nang diskurso, dapat diretso na sa ospital.
Yes, dapat pumunta na sila sa kanilang primary care physician. The primary care physician will assess, no, Tito, na kung kailangan nila ng admission. In fact, may pasyente ako ngayon na for past few days ay palagi na siyang may lagnat. So initially, trinit ko lang muna siya sa kanyang bahay. But on the 7th day, pinabalik ko uli siya sa ospital para tignan ko. Kasi noon, wala siyang pneumonia eh. So, but nung on the 7th day, nung pinabalik ko, nakita ko na yung pneumonia. So, pina-admit ko na siya kagad. And then, that is the time when we would start lahat ng mga kakailanganin na intervention. Of course, yung mga intervention na ginagawa namin, yun yung intervention na pwedeng ibigay at that particular point in time, no? So, hindi rin lahat pwedeng mong ibigay kasi kapag nagbigay ka ng ibang intervention tapos you gave it too early or prematurely, hindi rin magiging maganda, Sito.
Okay, wouldn't it be advisable? Kasi naisip ko lang, doktora, no? Pagpasensya mo na, pero naisip ko lang, sabi ko, kung medyo alanganin ang pakiramdam ko, tatawag na ako ng mga technician, yung para sa antigen o rapid test man lang. Kasi alam ko may mga nag-home service dahil ang isa pang problema natin yung mga senior citizen or yung mga meron ng existing na sakit. Doon sa mga napanood ko, ang maraming nadadali yung mga nagdadialysis pa eh.
Yes, but Tito, iba naman usapin yung yung mga tao na medyo may edad at meron ding mga comorbid conditions, no? Sila kahit na mild lang ay we will advise na magpa-admit kasi talagang sila yung mga very vulnerable na magkaroon ng severe to critical COVID-19, no? So kaya sila yung mga tao na talagang ina-admit na namin kahit na mild lang ang kanilang COVID-19.
Ano po ang response ninyo? What is your response to the normal apprehension of people, especially the elderly, that if I go to the hospital, it might be the end of me, or baka mas lalo pa akong magkasakit pag pumasok ako sa hospital. What is the current situation in many hospitals? Kasi kayo na yung doktora, kayo na po ang magsabi dahil sa akin parang nagdududa pa sila kung minsan pag sinasabi kong ako sa mga hospital na nasilip ko, parang tennis court, walang laman na tao.
Alam po ninyo, ayon doon sa mga pasyente natin, sa mga tao natin, no, kababayan natin na lalong-lalo na yung mga may edad at saka meron na rin silang mga ibang sakit katulad ng sakit sa puso, may diabetes, mayroong problema sa kidneys, no. Kayo po yung mga unang-una talagang mga tao na kailangang pumunta kagad sa ospital at most likely, no, lalo na kung nilalagnat, ay kailangan natin malaman kung kayo ay may COVID-19.
Oops. Okay, na-COVID yata yung linya natin with Dr. Maricar Limpin, Vice President of the Philippine College of Physicians. But we will try to reconnect with her. But that's the situation. There has been an napansin nakita na ng mga kinaukulan na dumami yung critical care cases. Ano po ba ibig sabihin nito? Yung mga pumupunta sa ospital, medyo seryoso na, malala na. Hindi naman natin sinasabing ano na, no, kung 50-50 na, pero critical care na. Kumbaga, pagdating mo doon, bibigyan ka na, i-intubate ka na, kakabit ka na sa respirator, o kung ang daming kakabit sa'yo, gagawin sa'yo, kasi malala na ang sakit. Ayan po, ito, nandiyan na ulit si Dr. Maricar Limpin. Doktora, we're back.
Yes, Tito, naputol lang tayo. As I was saying kanina, Tito, no,
Yeah.
importante na yung mga may edad sa atin, yung mga may sakit talaga may mga pre-existing illnesses, katulad ng sakit sa puso, hypertension, diabetes, no, sila yung mga kailangang pag may nararamdaman, magpunta na po kayo sa ospital, sa inyong pinakamalapit na primary care physician, at nang malaman ho kaagad kung may COVID-19 o wala kayo. Kasi ang una-una hong gagawin talaga, ipapatest ko kayo kung kayo ay may COVID-19. So, swab test ho agad ang gagawin. At kung makikita ho naman na magpa-positive ho kayo, then kailangan ho kayong ma-admit. No? Tama ka, Tito, no? Doon sa observation mo, marami kasi sa ating mga kababayan ay hindi agad-agad nagpupunta sa ospital dahil natatakot daw sila na magkakaroon ng COVID-19. Pero isipin na lang mo natin na kung kayo po ay may nararamdaman at may possible na may COVID-19 ho kayo, hindi ho pa mas delikado na hindi ho kayo magpatingin. No, so importante na magpatingin na ho kayo kasi as early as possible, kailangan ho magawa na ho namin ng lahat ng mga kakailanganin namin para at least hindi ho agad-agad, hindi ho kayo mag-progress doon sa severe or critical COVID-19. Kasi meron naman ho kaming na ibibigay at mga interventions na nagagawa, no, para hindi masiguro ho natin na hindi kayo hindi kayo mag-progress doon sa COVID-19 ninyo.
Okay, Doktora, if you could, ayoko namang i-turn off o takutin yung ating mga viewers, but I think it would be good for them to understand what are the consequences of waiting too long. Kumbaga, yung nagpapateka-teka, bukas na lang or sa pag hindi pa ako masyado namang masakit. Pag pumasok ang isang critical care patient, on the average, ano yung nagiging protocol? Kasi pag sinabing critical, hindi na makahinga masyado. Severe pneumonia na, correct po?
Yes.
Oh,
Pag pumasok ko kayo na critical COVID-19 na ho kayo, so expect ko ninyo na immediately, no, kakailanganin ho kayong ma-intubate, ikakabit ho kayo sa respirator. At kadalasan may mga kasama pa pong mga ibang problema ito. So ito po, ibig sabihin, ang taas-taas po ng mga inflammation, no, na nangyayari. So kakailanganin ho ninyo talaga ng maraming intervention. And in fact, sometimes, no, yung respirator na yan might not be enough. No, maaaring kakailanganin din ho kayong ilagay doon sa tinatawag naming extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, yung ECMO, no, na makakatulong para medyo mag-improve po yung oxygenation. Kasi yan po ang pinaka number one na problema po doon sa mga merong critical COVID-19. Hirap po ang baga na ma-exchange po niya yung gases ninyo, no? So kaya madalas ay bagsak po ang oxygen sa katawan, no? And therefore mangangailangan ho kayo talaga ng mga machines na para mag-improve po yung oxygenation sa ating katawan. So, mas madalas din po ito pong ECMO na ito, ha? I-ano lang natin sa kanila dito.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, isa ito sa mga ginagamit namin para mag-improve ang oxygenation. But the chance na maging successful using ECMO is very low. As long as ang pag dumating sila sa ospital, medyo nandoon na sila sa critical. Kaya mataas din ang mortality, no? Pag dumadating kayo ng critical COVID-19 na. Kaya importante magpunta ka agad kayo sa ospital o sa inyong pinakamalapit na doktor para ma-check ho kaagad kayo, ma-assess ho kayo kaagad. And definitely, no, kapag mga may edad at saka may mga iba pang mga pre-existing medical condition, kayo po yung mga priority na kailangan ma-admit po agad.
Okay, doktora, na-explain mo na no kung ano ang madadanas ng mga nagpapatagal, nagpapadelay at darating sa hospital na critical. Kumbaga, umiral yung takot, yung pagtitipid o yung pangamba. Sinabi mo na kung ano yung mangyayari sa kanila kung too late the hero sila. Paano yung mga maaga pa lang pumunta na, medyo may ubo, may lagnat, pumunta na kaagad sa ospital. Ano ba normally ang treatment protocol dun sa mga mild pa lang?
Pag mild lang ho, yan, definitely, Sito, hindi yan i-admit sa ospital. Ang i-advise lang namin ay sila ay manatili sa kanilang bahay for home quarantine o kung wala naman silang kakayahan na ma-isolate lang sila, no, sa bahay, then pinapapunta namin sila doon sa kanilang community quarantine facility. So, bakit hindi natin sila ina-admit? So, madalas kasi dito yung mga may mild COVID-19, wala naman silang pneumonia. May konting nararamdaman lang sila, either may konting ubo at saka may konting siguro minsan nawawala yung pag-amoy o yung paglasa, no, masasakit ang katawan. Yan lang kadalasan ang nararamdaman nila. Kaya major stage na home quarantine lang muna sila. But the moment na medyo nag-progress yung mga nararamdaman nila, then kailangan ipaalam ka agad nila yan sa kanilang doktor para ma-check kung baka nagka-pneumonia na sila. At kung nagka-pneumonia, a-admitin yan sa ospital.
Bali, yun yung basehan ng admission. Hindi yung kasi may ubo ka, masakit katawan mo. Kung ikaw ay
Talagang pinaka-basehan ng admission natin, Tito, usually yung may pneumonia na nakikita sa chest x-ray. Pag may pneumonia, ina-admit na yan sa ospital. Kasi yan, hindi na namin malalaman kung ano maaring mangyari in the next few days. May maaaring gumaling, no, walang masyadong mangyari, or maaari rin naman na pumangit yung pasyente. So at least kung nasa ospital, alam namin kung ano ang aming gagawin.
sa bagay naman, COVID o walang COVID, basta may pneumonia ka, hospital ka talaga. In any case, Doktora, maiba lang ako, Doktora Maricar, no? Kasi you are with the Philippine College of Physicians. May we know where you stand as far as the decision kung mag-GCQ pa rin or mag-MGCQ? Pinatatanong lang ng aming news group.
Siyempre, no, sa ngayon, nakikita namin kung ano po ang current na situation natin, pati po ang implementation ng mga iba't ibang pandemic control programs ng pamahalaan. We know na dapat ay hindi pa po talaga completely prepared po tayo para sa isang MGCQ, no? Dahil wala pa naman po tayo talagang sapat na transportation na ipoprovide sa ating mga tao at kung magdagsaan ho ang mga papasok na mamamayan natin sa kanilang mga trabaho, hindi rin po enough kasi makikita ho natin na magko-congest ho sila habang naghihintay ng kanilang sasakyan at magko-congest din ho sila habang gusto ho nilang umakyat doon sa floor na kanilang pinapasukan doon sa mga building. So, ibig sabihin yung elevators natin. Kadalasan ang elevator will kakayanin lang mga 4 hanggang siguro maximum ng 5 tao bawat trip ng elevator. Pero alam naman natin mas kinoko during pag talagang dagsaan ng mga tao, punong-puno at sikipan talaga itong mga elevator nito. So kung hindi ho tayo handa kung paano natin gagawin, paano natin mapapaakyat yung mga mapaparating ho natin yung mga tao sa kanilang place of work, then it will be very risky, mapibreak ko ang marami sa mga health protocols natin, and that may mean na mag-i-increase na naman tayo ng mga COVID-19 cases. Fortunately sa atin, medyo nakikita na ho natin ang pagbaba. Pero kailangan pa ho natin na tuloy-tuloy na maibababa ho ito bago tayo mag-relax sa ating community quarantine.
Okay, last question ko na lang, Doktora, quick answer na lang. Yung pong mga maraming namamatay recently, kasi napapansin ko, pumapalo ng 50, 60 a day yung mga namamatay. Are these mostly yung mga critical care, comorbidity, mga matatanda?
They are critical, yun po yung mga severe to critical po na in-admit natin na COVID-19. Marami po sa kanila may edad, marami din po sa kanila ay meron pong mga pre-existing conditions, katulad ng hypertension, diabetes, may mga sakit sa kidneys, may chronic obstructive lung disease. Sila po itong mga ito na madalas na nakikita ho natin. And unfortunately po, pag critical po ang kaso, pag in-admit po sila, mataas po ang chance na mamamatay ho.
Okay, thank you very much, Doktora Maricar Limpin. Napakadami po ninyong naibigay na information, and we hope next time makabitan ko na kayo ng PLDT para sa video natin. Thank you very much, Doktora.
Thank you and stay safe, everyone.
Okay, yun po si Doktora Maricar Limpin, Vice President of the Philippine College of Physicians. And before we go to break, allow me to just do a recap. Yung pong mga nagiging critical care cases, kadalasan, mga taong may pneumonia na, masama na. Ako po, many years ago, back in the early 80s, na-pneumonia po ako. Hindi po nakakatawa. Akala mo parang may trangkaso lang, pero within hours, I think within 12 to 24 hours, yung akala ko trangkaso, malala na, nagdideliryo na ako. Mabuti na lang, may tumawag ng doktor na kaibigan ko, sabi, Doc Egay, pakicheck mo naman si Kuya Sito, ayaw pumunta sa doktor Pinuntahan ako, isang tingin pa lang sa akin, bro, ano ba, meron kang pneumonia, you have pneumonia. So, doon ako nakatikim yung saksak ng parang tawag nila, eucalyptus oil ba yun or something, yung talagang maakala mo kumain ka ng Vicks Vaporub. In any case, yung po yung mga pneumonia, yung mga critical care, sabi nga ni Dr. Limpin, kadalasan may diabetes, mayroong nagdadialysis, may mga may hypertension, heart problems, yung mga mabibigat, overweight. Nako, baka sabihin nyo, kuyang naman, ba't ka ganyan? You keep emphasizing obesity. Alam nyo po, June 6, I started on this intermittent fasting. I lost 20 pounds. Why? Because I'm taking COVID-19 seriously. Why? When you are obese, everything just compresses on your organs, particularly your lungs. Kanya nga maraming mga may tama, they make them lie down prone yata ang tawag doon, nakataob. Bakit? Para makahinga, dahil yung baga natin nasa may gawing likuran, hindi naman sa harap 'Di ba? Akala natin hindi sa likod. Para hindi na pressure yung baga. Kung ikaw ay saksakan ng taba, katulad nung angka namin na lumanghap lang nagiging drum na, lumanghap lang na ulam, nagiging drum. Naku, delikado po tayo. So, let's take the symptoms seriously. Sabi naman ni Dr. Limpin, unless you have pneumonia, chances are you will just be told to stay home and do home quarantine, and you will be given medicines. But the minute you have pneumonia, you have to stay in the hospital. And don't wait for confirmatory results. If you really feel na yung tabaga mo parang may tubig, nilalagnat ka na, pagpatingin ka na. Kasi malamang at malamang matigok ka pa. Okay, we'll go for a quick break and we'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, you're back here on Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV channels 8 and 250, as well as facebook.com/OneNewsPH and on YouTube, One News PH. Okay, at this stage, pag-usapan po natin, let's talk about the concerns of the San Sebastian Basilica Conservation and Development Foundation Incorporated, because apparently a condominium developer or several condominium developers have flocked to the area around San Sebastian Cathedral Basilica and are planning to build massive condominiums. Now, baka kayo po ay magbaliwala, sabihin nyo, wala, ganyan talaga ang progress. Alam ninyo po, ganyan tayo until someone builds right next door. Ganun po yung nangyari sa akin dito. Our former neighbors, the Silvestres, decided they no longer wanted a big house, so they moved in with their children and they sold their family home here. Yung pong nakabili magtatayo ng mga townhouse. Now, alam niyo ang mga developer sagaran sa boundary. Dikit-dikit halos, no? Naglalagay na lang ng firewall para wala kang masabi at hindi masita ng gobyerno. Pero ang problema, and this is the problem in the Philippines, many developers dig deep. They want to dig deep so that they can have parking lots or multi-level parking, etc. In this case, my neighbor, okay naman kami, wala naman kayong problema. Pero nagdig deep siya ng one level para may parking doon sa ilalim ng mga townhouse. Nung inuumpisahan na nila, ang balak, ganun na nga, didikit sa pader ko. And, I said, I don't know about you, but I have a 4-story building kasi maliit lang yung lote ko. Baka pag hinukay mo yan, biglang tumagilid na yung aking lote. And, these things are things people don't think of. I remember one location where the developer started digging next to the neighbors and nag-cave in. Mabuti na lang, hindi bumagsak. Pero mapapansin nyo kagad kasi nagkakaroon ng linear cracks. Dito nga sa akin, nung tinitibag nila ng hindi jackhammer, nung malaking equipment, parang backhoe, pero hindi, may pang concrete breaker, nag-crack yung tile ko. Mabuti na lang. Dati ng mga basag-basag yung iba dahil 20 years old na yung bahay natin. But the thing is, we don't really think much about this construction until the cracks start happening in your house, until your own foundations are threatened, or you end up being covered. If you've been to Tokyo and parts of Japan, there are sites like that. Beautiful old structures na para bang binalutan ng condominium, and may mga nakausap akong Hapon, sabi nila, magkamatayan na, hindi kami alis. Aba, nakaupo kami sa ginto habang gawa ng gawa itong mga bullshit na ito, yung lupa namin, taas ng balor. Well, that's good if you're living in an old wooden house. But if you are trying to protect and preserve a historical site, what are the chances? Okay, let's find out from the executive director of the San Sebastian Basilica Conservation and Development Foundation, Ms. Claire Vitug. Claire, good morning.
Good morning sa iyo, Sito. At
Oh.
salamat sa pag-iimbita niyo sa aming grupo para ma-explain nga to itong mga nangyayari the past few days sa amin.
Okay, Claire, nung nabasa ko yung briefing tungkol din sa problema ninyo, the first thing I remembered was the Rizal Monument in Luneta and that condominium that was being built about half a kilometer away. Yun, ang tawag nila, photo bomber. Yung sa inyo ba, ano ang sitwasyon? What is the situation?
Well, marami rin nagsasabi na comparable talaga yung sitwasyon namin dito sa nangyari sa Rizal Monument, yung sinasabi ng Rizal Photo Bomber. So ito naman yung version ng San Sebastian. We have our own San Sebastian Photo Bomber kung tuloy-tuloy nga itong construction. Pero may isang bagay din na kailangang i-emphasize, and it's good na na-introduce mo nga ito kanina, Sito, na it's not just the view na pwedeng maapektuhan dito. Ngayon, we're also considering the possible impact, the possible structural impact na magiging construction dito sa San Sebastian.
Mhm.
At we have to remember, itong pagtatayuan itong condominium na ito, may mga nakapaligid din sa kanya na mga maliliit na bahay na masasabi nating mga lumang bahay din, no? So, yun yung mga mga konsiderasyon, at yun nga, gaya nga ng sabi mo kanina, ito siguro yung mga bagay na mas kailangang ma-highlight sa mga diskurso natin regarding development and heritage conservation. Kailangan lang nating dinawin, hindi tayo against sa any form of development or progreso, gusto natin yan. Pero may mga konsiderasyon kailangan tayong i-take pag tayo ay nagpaplano ng isang massive or agresibong development sa isang area na merong pamanang kultural or historical.
Mhm. Okay, now, yung situation ninyo, kasi nung pinapanood ko yung video, yung photos kanina, photo images, katabi ng San Sebastian Cathedral ba yan? Or ilang bloke ba ang layo niyan? Because judging from the height of those condominiums, I think they're over 40 floors?
Okay. Una sa lahat, napakalapit niya. In fact, yung approximation, I think that was less than 200 meters or even much less than 200 meters. In terms of the floor height, ang San Sebastian kasi, including the spires, ang equivalent height niya is about a 16-story building, a 16-story modern building. Itong itinatayo sa likuran mismo ng San Sebastian, ito ay nasa 31 stories according doon sa kanya. So, doble. Kung isipin mo, doble halos ng height ng San Sebastian. At massive siya. Well, based sa mga perspectives na ginawa ng mga ilang individual, ilang concerned na individual, mukhang talagang matatakpan yung halos kabuuan ata ng likod. Depende kung saan mo siya titignan ng San Sebastian. So, maapektuhan din talaga yung sinasabi natin sa conservation na visual integrity, no? At yun nga, later on siguro mas madidetalye natin what visual integrity means para sa isang heritage site.
Claire, matanong ko lang, pasensya ka na, no? Medyo kasi batang Quezon City ako. Minsan lang o dalawang beses lang yata ako nakatungtong dyan sa San Sebastian. Pero gaano na ba katanda? How old is the San Sebastian Basilica and how many major disasters has it survived? Disaster in terms of, I know it survived one war, if I'm correct, and that it has survived several earthquakes. Tama ba tayo dyan?
Okay. Now, thank you for giving me the opportunity to to give a very short history of San Sebastian. Itong simbahan ngayon, itong present na basilica, tinatawag namin to number 5. Ito si church number 5 kasi panglimang version siya ng San Sebastian. The other churches na na nauna sa kanya ay nasira sa mga lindol, sa gera, at sa mga iba pang kalamidad. Itong simbahan na to, si Church number 5, natapos siya noong 1891 in response to doon sa nangyaring earthquake sometime in the 1880s, no? Tapos nasira si number 4 dahil doon sa earthquake nga na yon. Ngayon, I just also want to take this opportunity to highlight this part. Doon mo makikita yung katatagan ng loob, yung resilience, yung pagiging buo sa kanilang commitment ng mga paring Recoleto. Kasi hanggang ngayon itong simbahan na ito ay pag-aari ng Order of Augustinian Recollects, ano. So doon mo makikita na committed sila sa kanilang missionary work. At makikita rin sa mga records nila na talagang pinili nila itong kakaibang material, kakaibang building material para masigurado nila na magtatagal itong simbahan na ito. So 1891 siya inaugurate si Church number 5, so that makes it 129 years old. Pero yung pinakaunang baste, okay, ang pinakaunang baste, ginawa siya noong 1621. So by next year, magse-celebrate na sana itong buong complex ng kanyang 400th year anniversary ng pagkakatatag.
Okay. I alam mo, looking at those pictures, especially the crucified Christ, that stained glass window, parang gusto kong bumisita bigla eh. I'm realizing I haven't seen, it's such a beautiful facility. Yan ang hindi nare-realize ng maraming Pilipino. But hindi ba ninyo nakausap man lang yung developer, City Hall? Wala bang nagbigay ng presentation? Kasi alam ko, kung tayo nasa ibang bansa at pinresent yung sinasabi mo, wala nang usap-usapan. They give priority to history and culture over commerce, of a history of this kind.
Okay, so far mukhang wala pa kami natatanggap na ganyang imbitasyon sa ganyang klaseng event na magpipresenta sana sila ng kanilang mga disenyo, no? Nagkaroon din before ng pag-uusap ang City Hall, pero yun nga, parang ang nangyari ata, mas nauna na yung mga naging permits, yung paglatag ng mga permits bago kami nagkaroon ng chance na makausap itong mga tao sa City Hall, no? Yes, you're right. In other countries, meron silang mekanismo in order for them to ensure the protection of a heritage site. Kumbaga, mas sophisticated sila in that aspect, na meron talaga silang sistema na masasabi talaga na they could work well together with developers and lay down mga very specific guidelines kung paano nila mapapangalagaan or tulungan mapangalagaan ng mga sites. Siguro, if I may, Sito, dito siguro papasok yung bagong diskurso tungkol dito sa nangyayari nga sa San Sebastian. Ano ba yung mga mekanismo in place? Ano ba yung mga guidelines in place? So siguro yun yung mga magandang tanungin. Or if ever, moving forward, paano natin maiiwasan yung mga ganitong issue? Again, emphasize natin, hindi tayo against the development. In fact, we want development for the country kasi marami rin naman makikinabang para naman sa buong bayan. Pero, may bagay rin tayo mga kailangan protektahan. And in this case, marami tayong cultural and heritage assets dyan na magiging peligroso yung kanilang existence because of aggressive development, no? Na hindi napapangalagaan o hindi guided siguro na mga guidelines na mapoprotektahan na itong mga sites na ito, mga assets na ito.
Wala
So,
bang
yun siguro, no?
Yeah, but
Go ahead,
Claire,
please, go ahead.
Claire, I would assume that given this kind of, I mean, hindi naman small time yung San Sebastian Basilica, no? regardless of religion or creed, I would assume that the government agencies for culture, history, arts, architecture would have all gone to your aid and said, Claire, Yamo, tutulungan ka namin, hindi dapat mangyari to. Meron bang gumagalaw on the side of these agencies and offices of government?
Okay. Kailangan ko lang siguro maging maingat at kailangan linawin ko kung ano yung mga naging proseso, no? The past couple of days nung nalaman nga natin na mukhang magsisimula na nga itong construction. So, ang mangyayari dito, kasi nagbigay rin ng clearance itong mga ahensyang kultural, no? Tatlong ahensya yan, yung National Museum of the Philippines, yung National Historical Commission of the Philippines, tapos yung National Commission for Culture and the Arts. Noong July 2019, okay, if I'm not mistaken, that was July 16, 2019, kasi yung nakalagay na datos doon sa clearance na nakuha namin publicly, no? Nakalagay doon yung mga guidelines din nila kung paano, or yung guidelines na para doon sa developer. At sinasabi nga nitong mga ahensya na ito, nakalatag doon na kailangan munang mag-comply nitong developer sa mga conditions na ito before you could commence with the construction. Well, at least that's how we understood, not the clearance na to. Ngayon, dahil nga pumutok na itong balita na ito at tapos mukhang sa palagay namin mukhang may mga maraming katanungan, no, sa kung paano nag-comply dito sa guidelines na nilatag. So ngayon, ito na yung aming next step as a foundation, no? Yung possible next step na kailangan namin tanungin yung mga ahensya pa. Ano pa? Nag-comply itong developer dito sa mga nilatag ninyo. So in this regard, okay, doon sa isang aspeto naman ng interview mo, no, or nung tanong mo kanina, meron bang suporta from the cultural agencies in so far as the restoration program is concerned? Masasabi naman natin na yung National Historical Commission, yung NCCA din, nag-ano rin, na may mga tulong din sila na naibigay nung simula pa. At hindi ito yung mas recent, no? Nagkaroon din sila ng mga tulong pinansyal nung, I think that was 20 years ago or 30 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, na kasi may mga kailangan ikumpuni doon sa simbahan. So, doon pumasok itong mga ahensya na ito. Ngayon, ito na. The past 10 years, this is mostly a private initiative. Okay? Ito nga foundation namin, ito yung nangangalap talaga ng pondo at ng suporta mula sa iba't ibang sektor, mga private na practitioners para matulungan itong pag-restore nga nitong building na ito. No? At ang ano dito, I don't think a lot of people know this, pero funded din kami by the US Department of State, United States Department of State through their Ambassador's Fund for Cultural Preservation. So definitely, I guess lalo na dito sa mga nangyayari na to, we hope that we could get more support from the government agencies. Okay, I have to mention this ito, no? Kasi last week nagkaroon ng congressional hearing and let me just get this right. Ito ata yung Committee on Basic Education and Culture na headed by Congressman Romulo rather, sorry.
Oh, Roman Romulo.
Of Pasig.
Yeah.
Roman Romulo of Pasig. And then, dinidiscuss niya itong mga iba't ibang bills na nakalatag with regard to heritage and cultural preservation. And one of the bills na na-bring up is itong ang House Bill 102 or yung an act protecting the physical integrity. And let me just read this, kasi medyo mahaba. Okay. Of a cultural property, penalizing any obstruction to its view and sightlines, amending for the purpose of RA 10066, otherwise known as the National Cultural Heritage Act of 2009. Yung naging maiksing pag-uusap nila, kasi I think nung hearing na yun, wala si Congressman Lagman, na siyang nag-draft nga nitong House Bill 102, nabanggit nga ron na yung mga ahensya rin, I think specifically, yung mga ahensya, no, nagsabi sila na mukhang naglatag na rin sila or naghanda na rin sila na mga possible enhancements para dito sa para sa bill na ito. So, siguro doon pumapasok nga yung mga ahensya kasi sila nga yung tutulong sa amin sa pag-regulate ng mga bagay na 'to at yung practice nga ng conservation at preservation sa bansa.
Okay, so evidently hindi ka naman nag-iisa. Kumbaga no, mahirap kasi Claire yung nag-iisa ka diyan and ako kakampi niyo ako sa ganyang labanan. Like you, I'm not anti-development, but in this country, I have seen na maraming developers medyo pasaway o pabaya basta magawa lang yung gusto nila. I think best example is that vacant lot on the corner of Ortigas and EDSA. Pagkalalim-lalim na hukay yun na nawala pa yung beloved tropical hut ko kung saan ako nakatikim ng unang burger. Ngayon,
Oo.
balon na lang, dambuhalang balon. And people don't think about, threat to structure. Maliban dyan, wala bang sinabi si Yorme?
Um, if I may, no, and I have to also be able to frame this right. Kasi nung last time kami nag-usap, and this is together with the Quiapo community, no, hindi lang ito San Sebastian, pero yung iba't ibang mga heritage property owners sa Quiapo. Kasi marami pang mga heritage houses or heritage properties in the Quiapo area. So nagkaroon kami ng oportunidad, kinaunlakan kami ng opisina ni Yorme, no, na na makausap siya at ma-raise ang aming iba't ibang concerns regarding our district, no. And when I say our, katulad mo, Sito, I'm also from Quezon City, pero napalapit na rin sa akin yung Quiapo at hindi lang yung San Sebastian. Well, anyway, at may nabanggit nga siya na parang yun nga, ito nga na-approve na nga itong permit, pero ang sabi nga niya napaka-critical dito nung parang nabanggit nga niya na napaka-critical dito nung pag-move kumbaga ng community. So ito nga yung ginagawa namin. And especially now, Sito, na nagugulat nga rin kami minsan sa opisina na kahit weekend, minsan nakaka-receive tayo ng mga tawag from iba't ibang individual or nag-leave sila ng mga message sa atin na parang sa atin nila, kahit hindi kami taga Quiapo, mahal namin ang Quiapo at gusto namin tulungan na protektahan kayo. So ito na uli yung chance natin na makipag-usap kay Yorme regarding this concern. Kasi siguro isa rin yun sa mga bagay na kailangan din niyang makita.
Okay, well, Claire, we are behind the San Sebastian Basilica preservation and protection, and makakaasa kayo na hindi ko tatantanan to. Hindi naman tayo si Superman, but I know enough, and the last thing I want, kasi alam mo, Claire, ang kinakabahan ko dyan, 16-story kasama na yung matulis, pagkatapos tatapatan mo ng 31 stories, paano nga kung magkalindol at biglang humiga doon sa San Sebastian Basilica? Wag naman, pero dinalintikan na tayong lahat. Anyway, we will carry on the fight with you. Thank you very much, Ms. Claire Vitog, for your time today and for dedicating and putting effort to preserving parts of our history and our beautiful memories.
Thank you, Sito. And again, I would really want to also extend this gratitude on behalf of the foundation and the Recollects, no, na dun sa mga tumawag sa amin at nagbigay ng suporta. And also, of course, your station na nag-extend sa amin ng invitasyon para lang ma-explain din namin yung side namin. Ngayon, if I may, Sito, like just take 10 seconds of your time,
Okay.
there will be a heritage forum na magaganap bukas. This will be on FB Live. Ito ay organized ng University of Santo Tomas Graduate School for Conservation of Cultural Property and Environment in the Tropics. At ang title ng Heritage Forum is Up and Coming Visual Integrity and the Fear of San Sebastian Basilica. So ito, pag-uusapan nga, mas mati-trash out natin kung ano ba itong mga issues na pumabalot dito sa San Sebastian at itong possible na future development nga sa likod namin. At ito aatenan ng iba't ibang mga practitioners, mga heritage conservation experts, and also members of the academe from different parts of the Philippines. So I hope you get to join us kahit sa FB Live, because
Mm.
definitely whatever comments or questions that you will have will also help form kung ano yung magiging mga next steps namin para dito. And
Okay,
maybe
well,
this is also our way of opening. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, the team will get in touch with you para malaman namin ang details, and thank you very much, Claire. Okay, yan
Thank you.
po
Thank
si
you again.
Claire Vitug, Executive Director, San Sebastian Basilica Conservation and Development Foundation Incorporated. Alam niyo po, pagpasensyahan niyo na, pero I have seen too many disasters, too much commercial greed in the country that they don't realize what we are giving up. Kasi marami pong mga LGU na, siyempre, naintindihan natin, kailangan nilang kumita, kailangan nila ng development, progress, income, pero pinagpapalit nila yung dekada o centuries of history, of memories, of significance. Medyo nakakalungkot na tayo na lang ng tayo ng building. Ito lang ang sa akin, ano? Ang laki-laki ng Pilipinas, bakit ba tayo nagpipilit magsiksikan dito sa Metro Manila? Lalong-lalo na, I don't know about many of our viewers, but if you should have learned anything about COVID-19, the first lesson should be living in Metro Manila is like living in a laboratory where all sorts of germs, microbes, and diseases can just spread once someone drops a vial. Parang, hello, ang dami naman pwedeng tirahan sa labas, maraming pwedeng i-develop na facilities, pinagpipilitan natin. Ladies and gentlemen, please read my column today in the Philippine Star. I entitled it, Homes Not Hovels. And sinabi ko lang doon, marami sa atin, and prangkahan lang po ito, no? Ako, number one na ako, ang puso ko sa mahirap, lalo na yung mga nakakasama ko, pero lumaki akong parang galit sa squatter. Kasi noon, yung paglaki ko, ang tingin ko sa squatter ay mga taong oportunista. They take advantage, they occupy land, they build up illegal structures. Pagkatapos, bandang uli, ikaw pa may utang na loob kung lumipat sila, kailangan bigyan mo sila ng pera and relocation, etc. Pero alam nyo, as I grew up, I began to understand, ito pong mga squatter na ito po yung mga laborers, ito yung mga workers na ginagamit ng mga factories, ng mga employers, ng mga construction para ipagpatuloy yung negosyo nila. Ito ring mga squatter na ito, tinatawag, kinalakihan kong squatter, ay yung mga taong pinayagan ng mga local government officials, mga corrupt na mga politiko na manirahan doon sa mga lugar na yon para may boto sila. And after, I'm 64 years old. For crying out loud, one would think that after 64 years, pumasok na sa utak ng mga Pilipino na we need to treat our workers. We should stop calling them illegal settlers. We should stop calling them squatters. We should stop calling them, giving them name, and treat them like regular Filipinos. Basahin niyo po yung column ko kasi katulad niyan, maggagawa na naman ng mga condominium doon sa may San Sebastian, kung saan-saan dito sa Metro Manila, pero pang mayaman. At pagkatapos, ayan po, dyan sa may, pasensya na, Commissioner Liboro, 1 minute na lang, dyan sa Ross Boulevard, tayuan ng napakamamahal, 25 million, 30 million daw ng mga kondo. Condo unit, hindi yung townhouse. Ito na po. Yun yung humihila ng presyo ng mga ibang murang kondominium. Imbis na magkaroon tayo ng affordable na condo o mga townhouse para sa mga middle class, wala, nahihila kasi binibenta doon sa mga foreigner, sa mga foreign speculator. Yan na sinasabi ko sa inyo. Anyway, tayo po magpatuloy sa programa. Puntahan naman po natin ang ating susunod na interview. ang regular of agenda, Commissioner Mon Liboro, National Privacy Commission. Sandali. Magbe-break lang muna po. Break lang daw muna po. Nako, napagalitan na ako. Daldal kasi akong daldal. We'll go for a break. We'll be right back. Okay, you're back here on agenda. And last but not the least, let's bring in Commissioner Mon Liboro of the National Privacy Commission. Commissioner, good morning.
Good morning, Sito. And by the way, I really enjoyed listening to every minute of your previous commentary. You always make a very strong point, and thank you for elucidating issues for everyday Filipinos.
Okay, maraming salamat po. I have to likewise return the compliment kasi alam mo that motivates, inspires. There are days I kind of ask myself if I want to get out of bed or I have to look behind over my shoulder. In any case, your job is not any easier. You are, kumbaga parang sabi ko, ano nangyari dito? Ba't pati Facebook kailangan ng kausapin ni Commissioner Liboro? And sabi nga nung aking pilyong executive producer, a deeper probe into the actions of Facebook. Para dun sa mga hindi nakakaintindi, anyari? What happened? People are wondering, all they heard is this, that Facebook deleted 200 fake accounts. And then part of those accounts nadali pati yung account ng legitimate Philippine National Police official regarding parents and their children who were being recruited by the NPA. And then we heard you getting into the picture. What's going on, Commissioner?
Well, thank you for that, Sito. No? Siguro just to start our discussion, may pinagmumulan din kasi itong aming sinasabing deeper probe this time. Of course, we all woke up with the Facebook saying that they have taken down some certain accounts and website that did not fall within their community standards. So yung tinatawag nila ngayon na coordinated inauthentic behavior. So let us not forget that Facebook is a private company. They're entitled to their own private rules and regulations, but definitely they also have to follow jurisdictional laws and regulations, in our case, the Data Privacy Act. But ito pong aking pinagmumulan dito, of course, offshoot pa ito nung nangyari noong Hunyo. Naalala mo, Sito, nag-usap tayo dyan sa mga imposter accounts and fake accounts. Mm-hmm. At kailangan ko lang tingnan, kailangan natin tingnan ng mas malalim ito. May connection ba yan? Yung nangyari nung Hunyo, patuloy naming tinitingnan yan. At saka dito sa huling deklarasyon nila. Kasi kung babalikan po natin, immediately after, 2 weeks after we started the probe in June, they came up with their own results of their own investigation saying that they did not find anything irregular or anything inauthentic behavior in the creation of fake accounts and imposter accounts. And now here they come out saying that they have just taken down X amount of accounts, and these were based on networks that were actually rooted on fake accounts. So, it begs to be asked, Sito, on how Facebook has really now dominated, meron silang sabihin, may decision sila, it lands in the front pages. Now they're pag-uusapan ng buong Pilipinas. And kailangan din lang silang ika nga tanungin, paano nyo ba 'to ginagawa? Ano ba ang definition nyo ng CIB? Paano nyo ba ito kino-curate? Alam mo Sito, meron lang akong babasahin, I was doing,
Please,
alam mo,
go ahead.
yes, oo. Itong Facebook ko kasi simula hong tinayo niya noong early 2010, 2011, marami na hong beses ito talaga nagpapaliwanag, at on many occasions even apologizing. But this I really I came across ulit, coming mismo from the blog of Mark Zuckerberg in 2018, if you remember the Cambridge Analytica scandal or issue, if you may call it.
Yeah.
So sabi niya dito, Sito, Facebook was originally designed to connect friends and family, and it has excelled at that. But as unprecedented numbers of people channel their political energy through this medium, it's being used in unforeseen ways with societal repercussions that were never anticipated.
Mhm.
In 2016, we at Facebook were far too slow to recognize how bad actors were abusing our platform. We're working diligently to neutralize these risks now. We can't do this alone, which is why we want to initiate an open conversation on the hard questions this work raises. So itong aming probe or dialogue is open conversation. I'm just taking off from what Mark Zuckerberg said. But there are two things here that are quite, strikes a chord. They said, and they admitted they were far too slow in responding, and they recognize how bad actors were abusing our platform. So how do they actually recognize these bad actors? Sabi mo nga, may mga na-take down doon na seemingly legitimate or meron mga, pero they took it down. So I guess it's really high time for Facebook to explain to us how they do things.
Yeah.
What sits behind those algorithms? How are they conducting this investigation? But the real issue I think that should be established is how do they actually protect us users or Filipino users in their platform?
Okay, now what happened in your deeper probe? I have the impression that you sat down with them and discussed this kasi parang weird na eh. It's a weird situation where back in June we had thousands of fake accounts that to this very day are still there. Some people just didn't bother to react to them. They're still there. And then suddenly now in September, they're taking down accounts and by indirectly also affecting legitimate accounts. So parang, do they even know what they're doing?
Well, again, Sito, to answer your first question, we're just about to dialogue with them on this matter. We have
Okay.
just sent them the letter to them, but it's a good thing that Facebook has established also their own person here on the ground. Something that also was the result of the commission's issuing out an order to them in 2018 to assign somebody to answer our queries. Kasi nga sinasabi ko, hindi kami magpapaka-call center sa inyo dito. Tuwing may problema, kami ang tinatawagan or mga tao hindi alam kung saan tatawag. No? So they better assign somebody, which they did. And so right now, and with this revelation, and the questions that are being foisted or hoisted after their takedown. So ito yun yung gusto nating maintindihan lalo. Ano ba tong black hole na ito? At how do they actually decide, no? Alam mo noong 2018 they appointed fact checkers here in the Philippines. I think it was Verifiles and Rappler, which is supposed to be validate as an independent third party data and claims, and that really to curb fake news. So yan yung pinagbabatayan din doon.
To be fair, they curbed some fake news, but what I observed personally was that they actually went after commercial activities that are not sanctioned or filtered by Facebook. Parang I remember one editor of a major paper, yung kanyang golf parang ano na, nagpo-post lang siya ng mga golfing events nila. It wasn't a commercial effort. He was just publicizing their golf here, their activity here. And then biglang na-take down yung kanyang account. And sabi ko, ito na yung sinasabi ko masyado nang nagiging guarded ang Facebook. Gusto nila sila lang yung may access to negosyo. What do you have to say about this?
You mentioned several, sabi mo nga, dimensions about Facebook. No? You mentioned about negosyo, no? And really,
Yeah.
the business model of Facebook is really the harbinger, no, of all their actions, right? And itong advertiser-driven business model by Facebook, this is well, again, supported by typifying users, by conditioning responses,
Yeah.
and really tracking and even forming behaviors, no? So yan yung yan yung you can be taken down, but you can be allowed depending on engagement and depending on whether you paid, no? So one thing really stark about the report recently is that these two networks, no, may money involved na dito, Sito, no? So hindi na ito yung these are hidden behind the stories, no? Well, if you will look deeper into these stories of networks, may money involved, no? May nagbayad ng ng $60, no, to have certain pages promoted from Fujian, China.
Yeah.
And then may nagbayad ng $100 to, yun yung business model nila eh. So kung ikaw, right, whether you're selling commercials or whether you're selling yourself as a politician, right? But if you have the if you are within their business model, di pwede ka nilang i-support or i-promote dito sa Facebook. So alam mo yon, yan yung lumalaki na lumalaki itong role ng Facebook. I'm not discounting the of course the good, no, that social media, pero na nadadala, no, pero by their own account, no, sila rin inaamin nila that their platform is also being used by bad actors and that they were too slow. So we just want to know, have you changed? Have you gotten any faster from the last time that you admitted that you were too slow? Because imagine, Sito, according to them, it took them 5 months to investigate this supposed networks, right?
Yeah.
So 5 months, and look at again, looking through between the lines of yung kanilang report, you're talking of almost 100,000 plus followers, no? Or naabot na ditong mga to. So if you're talking about fake news, or if you're even talking about forming or influencing behavior, ang bilis, no, kung na kumakalat po nito. And it took them 5 months, limbawa, to check on a network. But then again, how did they identify bad actors? Now, they were, lumabas na meron ngang parang NGO or something, no, na
Yeah.
behind this. So how did they actually decide on these things, no? So
Yeah. Parang sila lang ang may karapatang mag-decide whether you are good or you are bad.
at hindi nila sasabihin, Sito, kung paano nila ginagawa yun.
And here's a question. People might be wondering, as far as the National Privacy Commission is concerned, and this confession of Mark Zuckerberg, why is the National Commission on the front line?
Because this is about personal data, Sito. Right? Our mandate is to protect personal information of individuals. And these social media tech companies are boosted by personal data. Yun po ang ginagamit ng mga social media na ito to be able to sell everyone, to their advertisers, no? And they are actually sharpening the saw in terms of developing more algorithms to be able to profile you better so that advertisers can mas fit, no, na maaabot ka. In doing such, they use personal data, which is under our mandate to protect.
Last question, Commissioner Liboro. dito sa situation na ito, I've already had a couple of feelers regarding 2022, no? Yung election, etc. So I'm beginning to see that people have started taking up plans for 2022. Can the National Commission actually tell Facebook, we want you to stay strictly social, non-political? Because in China, I think, Hong Kong, I don't know if it's Shanghai or Hong Kong, they were told by the local authorities, you can't conduct certain activities here. It is against our laws. And they had to basically abide, although they said, it's not good for democracy, it's not good for business, but because the local authority said so, we have to comply. Pwede ba yun dito? Sabihan silang, no politics, purely social.
This would take a whole of entire policy front line, no, to do that, Sito, I must admit. I think we're in a situation where the policy should now really catch up with itong potential ngayon ng mga social media. Sabi nga nila by their own admissions, even some of the engineers that left the social media giants are admitting that this was not really their intention when they created this, and now they're seeing the ramifications politically in democracies, in the future of democracies in so many countries. And right now, as we speak, Sito, there are developments, as you mentioned. You mentioned several countries. Not only that, in Europe, they're really taking a second and deeper look at this social media giants, especially coming off the heels of their own findings in Cambridge Analytica of how it was used to form the opinion and influence the behavior, for example, of Brits in voting in their Brexit. These are all now well documented by even the legislature. So when I say that this should be a whole of policy sector approach, I'm really talking about not only the National Privacy Commission, but our legislators probably, and really look at this more seriously, because technology has changed. AI has artificial intelligence has taken over in many issues surrounding Facebook. And they, when this pandemic started, Sito, when obviously so many of their employees have been working from home, and we read reports saying that really AI and machine learning has taken over in a lot of decisions by Facebook. So it's high time that policy catches up and come up with the really timely policy adjustments to meet these new technologies being forwarded by Facebook.
Okay, I think I'm going to have to schedule you for another interview. We
Sure,
can.
sure,
So
Sito.
I just want to educate people regarding Cambridge Analytica, how it affected the British Brexit, how it affected the US elections, and how Facebook actually impacted politics in the Philippines, created a hate culture among Filipinos. And I think it's high time we address it publicly and we call it. Thank you very much, Commissioner Liboro.
Thank you, Sito.
Okay, that's Commissioner Mon Liboro, Commissioner of the National Privacy Commission. Maganda po yung mga inputs niya. We will schedule all of them, including the national historical groups, etc., para mapag-usapan itong mga bagay na mahalaga sa ating culture, sa ating society, and so that we are not used, we are not manipulated, and we are not taken advantage of by different groups. I'm Cito Beltran. That's agenda for you today. Please continue praying. Please pray for me naman and my family, and please honor the men and women who are there keeping your house, serving you, or looking after you, because they also deserve your love. Thank you. God bless all of you.